Hey everyone, my name's Zazaris. I play for fun, I play for charity, and we usually play on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays around 9:30, 10 o'clock Pacific time. Link for that is down in the description below. Hope you join me. Right now we're giving our first impressions along with some tips and tricks for both beginners and veterans of the game Swords of Legends Online. It's a brand new MMO just launched via Gameforge on July 9th. They're the publisher. The actual developer is Wangyong Shengteng. They actually produced the game in the Chinese market in 2019. There's been a lot of content for it, and Gameforge has now brought it to the West, as I mentioned last week. What's interesting about it is it's a storyline based on Chinese mythology, featuring the typical PvE, PvP, as well as endgame, so raids. But what's interesting about it is, unlike, say, games that you're used to, like BDO, that are, pretty much free to play, but with some pay to win mechanics, maybe some very expensive cosmetics, or World of Warcraft, which typically has the cosmetics, but it also features, a monthly subscription. Sometimes you even have to, buy the game ahead of time. Um, Similar to, like, Final Fantasy, right? So Final Fantasy traditionally was you bought the subscription, you bought the game, and anytime you stopped playing the game, you didn't have to do the subscription anymore. However, this game's a little different. It literally takes it a different approach from the perspective of, this is a buy to play game. So you buy it once. There is no subscription. There is no pay to win. There is cosmetics, however. What you'll see there on the cosmetics, we can show you here. This is the cash shop. So the cosmetics and the transmogs are all kind of in a combined system. The cosmetics themselves, the ones that cost real money, is via the Crimson Coin Shop. So as you can see, you can do different outfits, different mounts, but there is no actual pay to win items or boosts that a lot of people would associate with. When you do buy something in terms of the cosmetics, you also earn points by purchasing those. And then you can convert those points after so many purchases to get other cosmetics. So it's kind of a, hey, if you're going to pay some, we're going to give you some more. That way you can accumulate more over the course of time. They also do have another currency. So there's essentially three currencies. The Crimson Coin, which is real money. Point Shop, which is derived from the Crimson Coins purchases. And then there's the Crystal Dust Shop that you can get on each character. It's not shared. On each character, you log in every day, and you can get, I believe it's about 5 per character. Now, that 5 per character is not going to go very far, but over the course of time, adds up, buys you cosmetic, etc. So you might as well enjoy it. In terms of the actual cosmetics, what you can see in here is this is our outfit along with the companion. So the companion's intended there to help you as you are solo leveling the game. It allows you to go into dungeons, take some DPS or healing on your behalf. That way you don't have to necessarily go through LFG. Yeah, when you think about it, it makes the game much more fast-paced for folks. That way they can continue their leveling. When you get into instances where you're doing LFG and you need a full team, you can do that full team. If you don't have a full team, depending on who maybe it has the stronger companion, those companions can join the team to fit out the team so that the dungeon can be accomplished. So it's really unique from that perspective. You also have interesting attack or battle style here. So in the case of, say, World of Warcraft or Guild Wars, right? Those typically were kind of a tabbed target system. In Terra or Blade and Soul, they were typically an action-based system. In those systems, they were pretty much unique to those games. They didn't crisscross, right? This game takes that whole direction and puts kind of the best of all worlds here. So first, they give you the tab targeting. Then they also give you action-based targeting. And depending on the class of character you play, and there's 6 total, you can choose what makes sense for you. It's completely a personal choice. So if you're playing a melee or medium range character, typically what we're seeing in gameplay is the action-based combat seems to be most responsive. If you're a healer or a summoner who's doing more of a long distance approach, sometimes that tabbed targeting tends to be a little bit more beneficial. But again, it comes down to player choice. One couple things in terms of tips and tricks people have asked to say, hey Des, the game really plays well, but there's some things that are missing. What are those, and how can we enhance some of the other things? So what's missing, or the cons of the game currently, are you have kind of some poor translation right now. Again, game's a week out of launch, so there's some parts of the game where the translation has not been fully localized to English. It doesn't really detract from the game, it's just not finished from that perspective. The gameplay itself is very finished, but some of the localization isn't. And so what you typically are seeing is it's not necessarily in the written dialogue, it's typically in the spoken dialogue that you see in game, that you hear in game. But I'd probably say, at least of what I've done through level 21 right now, it might be 5 or 10% of the game. It's pretty small, and I do hope that will be resolved on the next major update to the game. And with that major update, so there's a lot of things planned in terms of the roadmap, right? So you've got raids coming at the end of July, more raids each month between now and, say, October. I'll actually post up what the roadmap looks like here in just a moment. And then in addition to all that, you've got different events. There's a battle pass. So there's a battle pass in addition to the game. So there's a free battle pass. There's going to be a paid battle pass. Again, very cosmetic focused. Nothing pay to win from that perspective. And so I really am enjoying the game. But in addition to the translation or localization issue, I would say probably the other detractor currently is just servers. Right now, there's one US server. I believe it's in the central or east coast. So for those of us who are in the west coast, or maybe those from Oceania, have a much higher ping than, say, from the east coast. In Europe, they do have 2 servers now, and then have the original Chinese server as well. Problem, of course, I think, so for if you're playing from, say, Australia or New Zealand or Japan, for example, you're typically connecting into, say, like the North American server, and so that's going to give you the biggest ping. Problem, of course, is we don't have any clue as to when or if an Oceania server may be part of it. I'd also say one of the other detractors is, once your character is on a server, the great thing is you do have crossplay. So it's available on Epic, it's available on Steam, it's available on the GameForge client. So it does not matter which one you choose. You can play with your friends, you can play with others, no matter what they're playing. The issue, of course, is you have to be able to play it on the same server. So much like the typical MMOs of old, there is no cross server hopping in that regard. So if you want to play with friends in Europe, for example, you end up having to have a European character on that server. If you want to play with friends on the North American server, you are, wanting to have a North American character. A couple things that have come up in terms of tips and tricks, however, to make your game better, I think, is go into game settings. So press escape is the normal key bind. Go to game settings, go to general, and you can check out their menu. The menu is really great in terms of the granularity and giving you full access to a whole lot of things. When the game first loads, however, it's going to load into the resolution of your native screen. And so that could be 1040, that could be 1080, or that could be a 1440. And so you have to, and there is no full screen toggle. That's the one thing I really wish in the menu screen, that there was a full screen toggle. You have to go click the resolution, and all the way down at the very bottom is this full screen mode. Make sure you click on full screen mode. I've found that the game performs better and then also looks better, at least in my use of the game. Another thing here in the game settings, in addition to changing the picture, changing sound effects to what fits you and your graphics card, and the game plays beautifully. So what you're seeing, folks, is this is resolution from a 1080 GPU. Given the shortage of GPUs right now, I'm sure as I upgrade, the game's going to be even more beautiful. So the game runs really well even on a 1080. But going back to another tip is, for those of you who are going to get involved into especially the end game, raids, heavy PvP, etc., even a lot of dungeon instances, you're going to want to have a maximum camera distance. And the game, when you open it up, the game literally will have kind of a medium camera distance, probably somewhere, I think it's around like 1,000 or 1,200 or something like that. Make sure to slide that all the way over to 1,600. This will be heaven sent for you, and you can use your middle mouse wheel to zoom in or out depending on what's going on in terms of the chaos on screen, and that will make your life so much better in terms of field of view, that if you need to zoom in and out farther or what, you can do so on the fly rather than adjust the game settings in the middle of chaos. Another thing too is the game does it, because the game is what a lot of people would call a kind of a theme park MMO. So it's kind of a MMO on rails. It's open world, but within the confines of those rails. And so it does try to lead you from one step to another. And it typically toggles, some pop-ups that say, hey, you need to do this, or you might want to do that. After a while, those things can get pretty annoying. One thing I found is there is a beautiful thing right here on the menu screen that you can see right here called block pop-ups. It may take a reset, so if you check that box, you quit the game and then you restart the game, that should take effect, and that should block most, if not all, of the pop-ups from the tutorial, which is actually really beneficial, especially as you get into the game. So we were talking about the tab targeting, and we were talking about the action-based targeting. Let's get into a battle and show it off, shall we? So this is one of the first dungeons, called the Nightmare Temple of Mercy. This is Wuru, final boss of that. The beautiful thing about this game is you do have the ability to literally farm dungeons. And by farming dungeons, it's a great thing to do, because it's a great way to get gear, continue to develop your character in ways that just the normal quests can't do. The one thing that the dungeons allow you to do is they do allow you to farm them in a way to produce what I'll call smart loot, where unlike, say, a WoW or other MMOs, where you get duplicates, or you get the same stuff, or slightly different but pretty much the same. What they do is they do promise to give you something of a higher degree in terms of equipment score every time you run it. So if you ever hit into these, what we'll call XP or gear level, gear walls, one thing you're gonna want to do is literally just run dungeons, and that might take a couple levels to do, by all means. But the cool thing of it is, one, you get the gear. Two, you also get those transmogs immediately, so that you don't have to pay for transmogs. So it's very similar to WoW that way. Once you've earned them, you've earned them. Another thing to think about too is when you get those XP walls, couple things to think about too is looking at again, not only the dungeons which we're doing now, but the cooking or the fishing quests. They definitely do help in that regard. Another thing that I think helps even more, to be honest, is if you actually go into what they call your biography. And so within the biography, as each of these opens up, you can end up, in terms of unlocking, you can end up starting these biographies and go through it. Now, there's a lot of pieces to the biography. So there's, 60, 70 pieces to biography. And with that, you're going to get, again, more experience, more gear. So it's another way to get through that. Another one, too, is going to be looking at things like your ancestral records. So your ancestral records will have certain tutorials you want to do, complete those. That's another great thing outside of, say, the biography. And then kind of last but not least is going to be focused in on the Swordmaster Adventure. And these are the drills and the faction quests. And once you've completed all of the various steps, and some of them can be pretty long, there's also the ability to redeem those. So again, more gear, more experience gets you over the hump of what we'll call those experience or gear walls that, pretty typical in an MMO. Next, big thing to kind of think about is, how do you travel, right? Traveling can take a couple places. One, you have your traditional run walk, and each character has kind of a built-in double jump, right? And once you get to level 14, if you go through what they call the Origami Realm, you can earn a triple jump. So that triple jump gets you even higher. Problem is, Origami Realm is a skill on your general list. Most people won't even pay attention to it until the quest pops up. You can go ahead and do it before then. And it's, again, here. So skills is K in terms of your normal keybind. Go into general, go into Origami Realm, put it into your key settings, and then go into it, complete one or multiple of the quests within the Origami Realm. The only one you have to complete is basically the very first one. And so this is where you see it. So your character will start, in terms of my character, who's a sword artist, they will start out with the Cloud Hunter double jump. Once you go through the Origami Realm, they'll come out with the triple jump. Again, that's a great thing for traveling. Another thing, of course, for traveling is the mounts. The game has plenty of mounts, some of which you earn in game, some of which are more cosmetic in nature. This one is from the beta. This is the washing your hands masked panda. Now the pandas and other rideable mounts are definitely faster than traditional walking and whatnot. However, the ride-on mounts are actually even better. I should say the airborne mounts. So one of which is the very mount you get at the very beginning of the game, called the levitating sword. Then you also have things like waypoints. So each city, we're currently in the district of Shengang. Each city has different waypoints that you can basically fast travel to. One thing I didn't show you all was each of the classes. So again, you've got 6 classes. Let's exit out, go to character selection. Unlike many MMOs, you have the ability to create new character. You have full customization in terms of male, female, and all of their attributes. The character customization is really good. So you've got the first one is the Spearmaster. So its first role is the rapid spear attacks melee. And then the second role is more of a tank where you pull enemies together. The Berserker is great sword hits, again melee. And then it also has a tank ability via what they call the summon mirror images. The spell sword, which is what you were watching throughout this broadcast, is you've got a ranged where you summon swords and you basically are throwing swords at your enemies, or the melee, which involves more of a precision sword play. The Bard, which is your elemental magic from a range, or your group healing support character. Then you've got your Summoner, who is damaged through various summons, again also ranged, or healing over time support. And last but not least is the Reaper. The Reaper is a stealth melee with a damage reduction and healing support class as its secondary role. So that's it, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you do, make sure to like, subscribe, turn your notifications on for future videos, and let me know in the comments down below what class you like and what you're looking forward to most in this game. I'm definitely looking forward to each of the raids coming out here over the next few weeks, and really getting into gameplay itself. As I mentioned, gameplay is really smooth. Still some issues on localization and servers, but assuming those things can be fixed over the course of time, I'm really happy and can't wait to dive into it more. If you would like to dive into it or watch it, again, link in the description below. You can come join us on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays around 9:30, 10 o'clock Pacific. Or if you want to dive into the game, feel free to use one of 2 kind of affiliate codes, one with the Gameforge client, which is directly from the publisher themselves, or via Epic and their game store. Thank you very much